Hi, good day to all of you. I'm very proud to be here in India. I want to start with a little interactive exercise with all of you. So I want to ask you to all stand up and to close your eyes and to point to where you think the north is. Okay, open your eyes. Okay, it's over there. The north is over there. There's a few good ones. Okay, thank you. I think this is how I felt that normally when you work in a team or when you work in a company, is that we all feel that we are heading the same direction, where in fact we are all sort of like mice running around into any direction that we want to go to. Okay, today I want to talk a little bit about the enemy that we all share and my experience into facing that enemy every day. But before that, I want to explain a little bit about my journey until this moment here and now. I worked in advertising for 30 years, not 29 years, for 30 years. And for 24 of those years, I was chasing this little thing. And I did everything that I could to get me one of those things. I even worked in Japan, and I went to Russia. I even worked in Africa. I was really finding a market or an environment or a client that gave me room to win me one of those, because that was my main task. My main enemy was I needed to have one of those things in order to get me to where I wanted to go, which was bullshit, of course. So in 2014, finally, I got me one of those, which was a nice moment, but then still you go home and you go, okay, well, I still need to do groceries and do other things. So it wasn't really giving me anything new. So that was the first, I think, step for me moving away from advertising, in the sense that I didn't feel that I was solving issues. I was just sort of selling stuff, and that didn't really felt right anymore. So then this happened for me. Always good to have a baby. When you have a presentation, try to add an animal or a baby. Now, this is not one of my children, but I have two, and they're a lot bigger than this. But no, I was working at an advertising agency, and we were hired by a company that makes baby milk powder, and they came to us with a brief that was for a TV campaign, and that was the first time that I really felt, and I think everyone has that a few times, that you really feel that the thing that you are getting from your client is completely not their main issue. So they are facing an enemy, or they have an issue that is really far away from the brief that they actually give to you. But normally you just go, fuck it, you just work on the brief and you make your campaign. Hopefully you get one of those lion things, and then you will be happy again. But this was my first moment where I really felt, okay, I really see that the issue that you have is really far away from where you think it is. So the main enemy that you need to face now is really far away from the brief that you are actually giving me. So by being really stubborn, we worked for a year, having them think that we were working on a TV campaign by making all kinds of moving storyboards and going into research, and on the back of that we were working on a big innovation on the thing that they were doing, with a new online world around it, leading to a new sales world for them. And that was my first and I think main moment where I felt that's what I want to do. I want to think, I want to face real enemies, and I want to really solve really big issues for clients and for the environment around it, and not only just sell it. So there was this ad man really confused on, okay, I reached this point where I thought everything was going to be super cool, now I'm famous, and then I did something that was completely offbeat of everything I did before that. So I was really finding my new route in life. So I left advertising at that moment in time. I went to work at the client side, because all my friends said you need to go at the client side because then you can focus on issues of one company, and that was not really the environment where I wanted to be. So I was really sort of in this situation where I didn't know, where am I under the water, am I above it, where am I, what is my mindset, where do I want to go? And then I felt that there were many other people and many other companies facing that same, I think battle is the right word. So, wow, something happened, I don't know what. And the sound is off. Is the sound off or not? Is it off? Do you hear me? You still hear me? Okay. So then I needed to have a lot of hard conversations with my friends and with my family when I said that I was going to move to this company, because no one really understood why I would do that. And the reason why I moved to this company is that this company is, I think, famous for helping other companies in maintaining their business. And for a long period, they have been doing that only by doing their finances, and they're helping with all the boring work. But 5 years ago, they opened new areas, which they call Experience Center, and in there they have people much more like me, and also more nerdy people that really think of all kinds of tech things. And together, we think of new solutions for all the companies. So we are now sort of helping all the companies that we work for to find their big enemies and try to find solutions for them. I was doing this in the plane yesterday, and I thought, this is India. Maybe no one has any idea who this person is. So I just wanted to show someone who also had a working life once. He was a B actor, and then he did something completely different by becoming the President of the United States. So I feel that I'm sort of entitled to make this shift from doing something that I did before to doing something completely different. I had a few other examples, but I thought maybe one example is enough to do this. So, then what are those enemies? Because we have all kinds of issues in life, and we can think of solutions for them. Those are called ideas, I think. So we have something that is in front of us that is really clear and very obvious for us. So we find a solution to solve that. I don't think that's one of the enemies that we are all facing. I think the enemy that we are all facing is the thing that is waiting for us in the future, and that is coming at us inevitably, but we don't know what it is. So we don't know what is that thing that is waiting for us in the future, but that is sort of coming at us with high speed. So we can think of super simple solutions for easy things, but the things that are really going to change the environment that we are in, those are the enemies that we really need to face. So, I was reading an article a few months ago, which was about that from all the kids that are now in school, under 11 and 12, 50% of the jobs that they will have in the future do not exist at this moment. And I thought that was, for me, that was a really big insight into something new. And then I read further, and then it showed that 100 years ago, that was exactly the same. So the whole feeling of that the world is now changing around us so fast, and that things are really different every month and every year, that's not new. We have the feeling that it's new, but it is happening, I mean, basically since that we are here. So I thought that was a very insightful feeling for me, that the issues that we have are not really new, in the sense that there may be even everything that will happen in the future already happened in the past, only just in a different context. And if we start to understand that, then it will be easier for us to know or understand what will happen in the future, so we can get ourselves ready for that shift. And then in there's a very hard thing to understand, in the sense that there are many new things happening that, like the Asian things that you saw earlier, that feel like a really good idea at the beginning, but then lead to a really big issue later on. I think this is one of the brands that for me really felt like a really good idea at the beginning, but then it sort of impacted much more on the negative side because they weren't really ready or not really thinking about what will be the really big impact in the future of things. And for that, for me, there is a feeling that I call the people that are doomed to be local. Those are the people that are very important when you think of new things and new innovations. So if you are sort of facing one of the enemies that you have, where Uber thought that they would have an answer for that, they didn't really think about the people that will be affected by that are doomed to be local, in the sense that these people who are doomed to be local, they have their lifestyle is fixed, and they don't have any option to go anywhere else. So if you bring something into the world that might help a little part of the environment, but will affect the whole world around it, then you have a solution that's not really helping. Helping an enemy that we sort of facing an enemy that we all share. So I think it's very important that when we think of new concepts or new things, or like we are now helping all kinds of companies with new innovations and new services, we need to really think about the people that are doomed to be local around that company, that are much more important than only just a really small group that's easier to find. So when I came to this company, which is now a year and a half ago, I was bombarded with things like this. It was all about, we need to grow, every company needs to grow, and for them, when you grow, it needs to become more. So more is a really important word in their environment. So I am fighting very hard with them to have them understand that when you grow, it needs to be better. So it's not about becoming bigger and more, but it needs to become about being better. So it needs to be about, when you do something with your company, it needs to affect the people around the company and needs to make life better for as many people as you can, because there's no room anymore for all companies to keep on growing. Because we already are sort of eating everything on the planet and using everything on the planet, so there's no room to become bigger anymore. We need to become better. So my enemy that I face every day with all the clients that we have is that they come to me hoping for a solution that will make them grow, as in bigger than last year, more profit, where I try to have them understand we need to become better, and you need to become better for the environment around your company. Who knows what this is? Yes, and that's from nature, right? Which is really beautiful. I mean, I have an example that's used with rabbits. When you start with 2 rabbits, then really fastly you will have 3, and then it will become 5. I think it's very beautiful. I have a guy in my team who has it on his arm, so 1 block and then 2 blocks. It's a really nice way of thinking. But in business, or in the world that we are in, it's completely opposite. So if you look at things from, say, 40 or 50 years ago, a big innovation took us, say, 20 years to get used to. When we went to VHS video, to, I think DVD was that took, say, 20 years. And then it took maybe 15 years, and then 10 years, and then 5 years, and even shorter. And we will move to a time that when we have an innovation, we start using it immediately. And that will come really fast. And I think from all the enemies that we have, that's the one that we need to face the most. We need to understand what are those innovations that are waiting for us in the future already. They're already there, we just need to see them. And what are the ones that will impact our lives in a good way as fast as we can. Because this is the speed of things as it is now. And it goes faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. I mean, we like something now, we hate it tomorrow. We like something now, we hate it at the same day. That's the speed of things. So we need to be really smart in how we innovate and what are the tools that we will be using. So, I spoke about the Experience Center, and in the Experience Center we have a way of working that we call BX&T. And for me, and I think for everyone who worked in advertising, this is just a normal way of thinking. But for this company, this is completely new. Because BX&T stands for Business, Experience, and Tech. Now, this company is really good in business. That's where they know everything. And I've learned so many things from them. Here, they don't know anything. This is for them completely new. And this is something that sort of follows, at least that's what I think. Because you need to have this first, you need to make money with it, and then the way you do it, that sort of follows. So for them, that's a very new way of working. That's my car, by the way. Which for me is a super good example of BX&T. Because it's an electric car, so it has a new business model. The experience of driving it is beyond any car I've ever been in. And the tech used to actually make it is super impactful. So for me, that's a really good example of what we need to do. So with every project that we have, basically all starts here because we have all those clients and we have been working for them for 30 or 40 years. So we know all their business, but my team is adding the X and the T into it in order to face the enemies that are in front of them. That's new. Then another thing that is very important for everyone to understand is that you used to have, or at least my father, you used to have a job and then that was your job for life. You worked at that company. My father worked at the same newspaper for 34 years. And that was it. I mean, you just had a job and that was your thing. And then in the 80s and 90s, we started to move around. So I have a job and I'm going to work somewhere else, or in advertising every 2 or 3 years you work somewhere else, maybe 5 years. But now we are raising a new generation that will have multiple jobs. So they will start with something, or they even might be going to university and then ending up with with a graduation, and then the job that they have been working very hard for is not there anymore. So that will bring a lot of stress for everyone, because you don't know if you have a job anymore, and you don't even know if you have the skills to be having that job for the future. So then one of the things that is infecting all of us, and also the people that are in need of a job in the future, is AI. And everyone thinks, or most of the clients that I have, they all feel that AI is their biggest enemy for the future. And I don't really think that that's really true, because I really still feel that everything that will happen in the future already happened in the past. We just need to find a way to understand that earlier than others. And I think that's also one of the main things, that when you go back to your own kids, or the kids that are in our world, we just need to understand what is it that they want to have in the future. What is it that they need to have in the future, and how can we build things around that? And I think that's the main enemy that we have. We need to understand what will be waiting for us in the future, and how can we use that to the advantage of everyone that we know. So I'm going to play one video for you, which is a little bit explaining how we feel that experience and giving people the right experience is helping facing all the enemies that we have, in the sense that we aim to build an experience that answers a desire that you didn't know you had it until you see the experience. And that's what we need to do.
People, can you hear me? Here's a message that I'm sending now. I've got the answer to all your problems, and tonight I'll be singing it loud. Just surrender yourself to the rhythm, with your hands up in the sky. Feel the energy deep inside your system, and leave this world behind, and leave the world behind you, and leave the world behind you, and leave the world behind you, and leave this world behind, leave the
So I think we are in a very interesting moment in our lifetimes. I think I'm now here in India. There are people from all over the world here. I think we all feel that there's a really big shift coming the next coming 10 years, and so then what you do as a species, you sort of huddle up because you sort of feel safer when you come together, and we sort of try to find a way to be ready to deal with the really big shift that is now coming. And that's not new, because if you look at history, every 100 or 150 years, there is this moment where a really big shift is coming, and people all come together because they want to be ready to have a future have a future. The only thing that's now different is that we are now all connected to each other. And we have all kinds of new tools, and we all have ways to share our thoughts and our ideas with everyone all over the planet. So I think the main question we now have is this just another moment in time where we just all come together to face the new enemy, and then it all will fall apart again in 5 or 6 years? Or will we now, for the first time, really use everything that we have and really, as a species, rise and grow into the future? Thank you for listening.